This war ends when every believer in this world that wants to enter the kingdom of God has been allowed to separate from the ungodly. As you know, with any large-scale endeavor, it usually takes the efforts and resources of more than one person to bring it to pass, which is why I want you to do everything you can to help us defeat our enemies and build the kingdom of God. There are many things you can do to help us advance our cause and achieve our goals. However, before I proceed any further, let me first mention a few things that you need to keep in mind while helping us. The most important is that whatever you do on our behalf to help us destroy the ungodly and build the kingdom of God must be legal, which means that you are not allowed to break the law, overthrow the government, or use violence. For the weapons of our warfare are not the weapons of man. The reason I require strict adherence to this rule is because if we ever hope to garner public and political support for what we're doing, we need to make sure that we have maintained the highest moral ground in this war against evil. And we can't do that if we resort to doing things that squander our goodwill and give people the wrong perception of us. If there's even the remotest possibility that something you plan on doing for us may be even the slightest bit illegal, you are absolutely required to check with me first, so I can stop you if it is. Another reason I want you to avoid breaking the law and using violence is because it keeps our enemies from having a legitimate reason for doing the same against us. As long as they don't have a legitimate reason for using force, any use of it by them will be viewed as unjustifiable by others, and therefore will cause people to rapidly lose respect for them, which of course will ultimately help us achieve our goals better than anything we could have possibly done ourselves to them if we had resorted to similar means. What we're really trying to do is make us look good and them look bad by the use of this strategy. The only time that force is allowed to be used by you is when you are being attacked and your life is in danger and there is no other option available at the time to protect your life but to use self-defense. In order to give us a position of strength in this war against evil, we are building an army that all able-bodied believers in God are required to join. The name of my army is the Armageddon Task Force, ATF. The Army's core consists of a group of 144,000 priests whose primary responsibility it is to trumpet the good news that Jesus Christ has returned. I plan on using the ATF to seize control and occupy every key area of the world that we have chosen to be part of the kingdom of God. Part of the Army has already begun infiltrating every group and organization in the world that we have targeted for destruction. Their assignment is to work on destroying these groups from within. I want every believer that wants to join us in the kingdom of God, who is currently in a group that we have marked for destruction, to help us destroy it from within before they leave by spreading eternal dissension and division among its members. This includes convincing the others not to be aggressive toward us, which will make it a lot easier to defeat them. Providing us with intelligence on their vulnerabilities will also make it easier. The final thing you should do before leaving, if you happen to be one of these believers, is work on convincing as many of the others as possible to join us. This will help further undermine the group's morale as they see their numbers dwindle. I want you to employ a strategy of divide and conquer when it comes to convincing others to join us. The steps normally involved in this strategy include: befriend them, isolate them, change them, divide them, and finally convince them to join us. Befriending and isolating them is simple enough. It's the changing them that will require the greatest effort, because you'll have to overcome all the propaganda that Satan has fed them over the years. The process of changing them first begins by getting them to doubt the legitimacy and motives of the groups they belong to. You can do this by showing them that they are not seeking first the kingdom of God and His righteousness by belonging to the group, since it's not centered around the belief in God. You'll want to then proceed with completely demonizing the group, along with every other group they may belong to that doesn't fit into or with our plans for the world. Also tell them that everyone that follows man-made governments, economies, and religions is really following Satan, and therefore has fallen out of grace with God. This will make many of them receptive to our message that it's time to build the kingdom of God. And by telling them that the only way they'll be able to escape the wrath of God is if they join us and do what they can to help us take over the world and build the kingdom of God, which, of course, includes not being part of any group that we plan on destroying. Another way to divide and conquer our enemies is to break their alliances. This is best accomplished by learning to play their alliances off each other, which can be done simply by offering their alliances protection if they join us. Protecting those that join us is certain to cause our enemies' alliances to hate, mistrust, and doubt the motives of each other as they compete for our favoritism. In time, their mistrust of each other will reach a point where they can no longer depend on each other for support, which will ultimately help guarantee their defeat when we attack them.